So I thought this video might be of interest to somebody, especially those who are practicing the guitar or learning to play the guitar or something. So I purchased this off eBay and it was really cheap. It's what's called a Johnny Brown guitar based on the Fender Stratocaster. Like I said, cheap. However, when I plugged it into the amplifier, and I've only got a cheap amplifier, it was really buzzy, and that's an indication that your ground, there's something wrong with the ground. So in other words, when you start touching your strings or any metal bits of the guitar, the humming stops. So there's obviously an issue with some sort of ground lead somewhere. So obviously I'm going to take it apart, see what's wrong with it, and see whether it resolves the problem or anything. I'm assuming that the components on this are quite cheap because it was a cheap guitar anyway, so it might need some replacement pickups and things, but we'll get to that later on. So this is part one of this video of this journey with this guitar. But yeah, let's see how we get on with it. Amplifier is genuinely an old amplifier, so we'll just plug it in there, and as you can hear, the buzzing is there, so we need to try and resolve that. So if we turn the gain up, there you go. Now I can so like I said, when you touch your strings, so the buzzing disappears. You can hear it faintly. So hopefully we'll get that sorted today. So we basically have about 10 screws on the outer side of the faceplate here. Now I've already removed the neck. I loosened the strings slightly because I don't have any replacement strings, but to get this off I had to remove the neck and the fretboard, obviously, just to get to this faceplate, because it actually sits underneath the fretboard at the top of that pickup there. And as you can see, I've accidentally taken a screw out that I shouldn't have done there, so I'm going to put that back in now. And like I say, hopefully we'll be able to resolve the issue. Now I did have a look underneath the import plug on the left hand side there to see whether the ground was attached, and it was. And I've been on the other side of the guitar where the springs are and everything, remove the cover, and the ground is attached there, and the solder joints look pretty decent, they're nice and shiny, so that's a good indication they've got a good joining. Now obviously when I remove this panel, I don't know what's underneath. There could be anything there. Like I said, I'm presuming it's got cheap components in it. These guitars are quite cheap to purchase from new anyway, which is probably why it was cheap on the eBay site. It was sold to me through a charity. I don't think they tested it, so yeah, we'll see how we go with it anyway. So I'm going to lift the plate off there. It is kind of just a flimsy piece of plastic, to be honest. And there you can see the underneath exposed. You can see the pots there for the tones and the volume and the pickups there, and the wiring. So the black wires are the ground wires. Now that's fairly obvious if you know anything about basic electric, so it's always the black ones, and the other ones are just color coded according to where they go. So I'm just going to check them all, make sure there's nothing loose on them, and the solder joints are fairly decent. The one there that I'm holding there, that one appears to be very loose. It looks like it's been soldered on quite badly. And I'm just going to move the camera in a bit closer so you can see this. And there you go, there's hardly any solder on that at all, and I do think it looks like it's been damaged slightly in the pickup, so this could be causing the problem. But it's not good either way if you've got a loose joint. So Just going to get the soldering iron now. Apply a bit of flux to help the solder run, and we're just going to get some solder now and just re-solder this on and see if this makes any difference. Hopefully it will resolve the problem, because the buzzing is quite annoying when you're trying to play. I say well trying to play, I'm not very good at playing the guitar as it is, but it does kind of put you off a little bit. But there you go. So this soldering iron is an extremely hot one. It's up to about 450 degrees there. Probably should have lowered it slightly. The wire has moved a little bit because of that, so I'm just going to tap it again with the soldering iron and get a bit more solder on. And also the joint doesn't seem to be right, so I don't know whether it's something to do with the actual pickup here or something. So I'm going to solder this on so it's got a nice firm grip. I'm just holding it with my fingers there so I can get the wire in the correct position and letting it set slightly. There you go, that's on. And what I'll do now is just apply a bit more flux and a bit more heat to clean it up, and it should be fine then. Like I say, the flux helps the solder run, so I'm just cauterizing. I call it cauterizing because the plastic bits are holding the metal bits in place, and they seem to have kind of just gone slightly. So like I said, I think somebody's tried to do this before and it's just a little bit loose around the edges, so we're going to sort that out now. So I've done that now. I'm just going to solder the black wires onto the volume control here. It seems a bit grey, does the solder. Now it's an indication you've got dry solder when that happens, and sometimes the contact doesn't make correct contact with the metal that it's soldered to. So we're just going to sort those out. I think the wiring may just come off a little bit, and this is where you need a third hand just to hold one in place, and that's what I'm doing there. The wires just come off slightly, so I'm just going to solder that back on and hopefully it'll get a good connection. So again, like I said, the black wires are all basically ground and they're all joined up together somehow underneath the guitar anyway. So all these parts link together through the ground wires, and that should eliminate your humming and buzzing sound if they are grounded properly. Now like I said, these are cheap parts in this, so there could be anything wrong with it. I'm not an expert on electronics, I just do this as a hobby. I like to take things apart, I like to find out how things work, which is exactly why I bought the guitar in the first place. I thought it's cheap, I can do what I want with it. I've not lost anything, I can replace the parts if I need to. I can learn about how it works by just taking it apart and rebuilding it, and that's what I'm doing. So there you go. So I'm going to put the screws back in now. So it kind of reduced the buzzing. There's still a little bit there. I don't know. There's still a little bit of buzzing there. Now like I said, the amplifier didn't come with the guitar, so maybe I need to try a different amplifier, or we might need to replace some components inside the guitar anyway. So but there you go.